Let's build a mechanical keyboard with, these boxes and the stuff in the boxes. Yeah, let's do it. Welcome, Simple Rud. This episode is going to be a simple mechanical keyboard. So basically building your first mechanical keyboard. I've gone with a rather basic setup, and I did go full size. And going into this, I had a lot of questions, and luckily GMMK's website has a decent layout, and as you've seen in the previous video, I went through and I tested switches as well to figure out, which switch I would prefer. Now, before we get too far, don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to be doing this video. I got a new mouse I'm going to be unboxing. I'm doing multiple builds, multiple case reviews. I'm all over the place. We got videos coming. Now, with that done, let's go through and talk about what you need to build a mechanical keyboard. First thing you need is just a barebone keyboard. Now, this is already set up that all you need to do are plug in the switches and the keycaps and go. So that takes me to our next thing that you're going to need. So this is a sample pack I had. Now, this is pretty cheap. If you're going the GMMK route, or even if you're going a different route, I would recommend getting this and testing out the switches unless you already know what switch you want. They do have different feels, they have different noise levels. I didn't go into, the different activation levels because when I type, I bottom out the key. So getting to where, it activates different points doesn't really matter for the way I use a keyboard, but it may for you. So, it's possible to have these two set up, hook it up, and test out and see where it activates. So with that, you're going to need switches. Now, depending on the size of the keyboard, depends on how many switches you need and, what keycap set you get as well. Now, I went with the box black Kailh switches, and this was kind of my favorite. It was rather heavy to click down, which I liked. It was smooth linear, so it wasn't super loud, and really gave it a quality feel that I liked. Doesn't mean you're going to like it, but I do. So take a chance, figure out what switches you want, get those ordered. Now that we've got those two, your next step is your keycaps. Now when you start looking at keycaps, there are options everywhere. GMMK just came out with more options than they had previously. But you can go to other websites and find individual artists and what they come up with keycaps. The set I want is not available, so I just got the Aura caps from GMMK. Now, I might change these out in the future. I definitely want to mix and match later on down the road. But for getting this thing up and going, that's your basics. Now, this isn't a setup I had to lube, so that's another thing to look into when you're getting switches, is whether or not you need to lube those and assemble those switches. Now, with that aside, another option is O-rings. Now, the O-rings really don't do a whole lot outside of help prevent your keycap from bottoming out. So when you get, your switches do get clicky, but a lot of the times the noise from the mechanical keyboard is bottoming out those keycaps up against the aluminum. This will help that noise. It does not eliminate it, but it will help it. So now that we've gone through what you need for your first basic keyboard, let's get this stuff out of the box and show you just how easy it is to pop these things together. So here are all the parts. I don't know if this is how I would have shipped them, but I guess it works. Now these are your switches, your barebone keyboard, your keycaps. Now what you're going to see when you look at this is you see two little mechanical hookups. Now I say mechanical because you can clearly see the little bit of contacts in those holes. And then you've got the LED at the top. Now when you take out a switch, you're going to notice a gap for your LED. These switches are set to light up all the way around, as in reflect the light from the keyboard. And then you have your two little contacts as well. Now this really is as basic as you would think. You get it in there, you guide it properly, and you push it down till it snaps in. Once it's snapped in, that is done. Now for the keycaps, I'll be doing an O-ring on them as well. So the O-ring, as you can see on the inside of the keycap, you've got your, I'll just call it a crosshairs. It looks like a Phillips slot, and that is what matches on the top of your keycap. But you've got this cylinder in there, and you're just going to put the O-ring around the cylinder. It will push down with the use of it, of course. So when you go to actually use these the first time, that'll get pushed down. But there you go. Now you can see that it's in there. You're going to take this, you're going to line up that center, and you're going to push it down. And then you have a keycap. Now you're going to do that a whole bunch of times. In fact, I have the tablet out so that I know what keycaps go where, and I'm going to go through and, well, I'm going to do this.
Baby, it's whatever. All this ever but you long gone, it don't matter. Ride or die, that's been the deal. The light of your back, I disappear. But if you don't play that for me, I'm out of it, I'm out of it. I lick my gun and then I'm done. I'm out of it, I'm out of it. No man to tell me you're no good. I'm brushing away, do you, the weight of you, of my shoulders. Done with my cigarette, and when all the smoke is clear, I'm brushing away, do you, the weight of you, the weight of you. Don't need a no man.
And with that, it's built. Now, when you're building this, I would say set aside at minimum a half hour. This took half hour to 45 minutes to put together. Now, some tips, things to watch out for. The leads on the bottom of the switches, since they are thrown in a bag like this, there were a couple that were bent. Now, I didn't notice the first two, and I kind of tried to push them in, and you'll notice that they won't go in all the way. It's fine, pop them out, bend the leads, push them in. So when you're inserting them, make sure you have the leads lined up first before you fully crunch those in there. You will feel the resistance though if there is an issue. Now, the way the keycaps are packaged from GMMK was super nice because it kind of goes in order. So you do your first row, your second row, and you're going through the rows on there as well. So if you're like me and you don't remember exactly every key location, that's helpful. Now I did have it popped up just to verify, and it worked. Went all the way through. Now, if you are on a budget, I would recommend buying a mechanical keyboard over building one. Now this altogether was over $200, whereas at work I have a G513 Logitech mechanical keyboard, and I love that keyboard, and it was about 150 bucks. Well worth it. I love that keyboard. In fact, that keyboard is what I'm going to compare this to as I use it and really decide if this was worth it or if it's better to go with that. And you know, down the road after I've got experience with this, I'll pass it on. But as for now, I don't have enough experience with this keyboard to really say how I like it. Now I will say that people do get into, you know, their custom keyboards, and there are a lot of really nice ones out there, and there are people who are very passionate about this. So if you want to get into that, this was a great way to start. Super basic, super straightforward, just pop it all together and go. Now with that, don't forget to subscribe, and also, you know, feel free to comment, you know, question, concern down below. Let me know, you know, if you liked the video, like it. If you didn't, let me know why. And with that, thank you.